Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Viking Academy podcast. So today I have a fellow named Kris Land. Now, Kris reached out to me and sent me an email and said, hey, Eric, I've built all these businesses and I've written this book, and I think I'd be a really good fit for the Viking Academy. And that's pretty well as much as I knew before I got into this. And holy shit, Kris, I think we were like brothers from another mother. We're literally the same person. We we go back the nostalgia route. We go talk about things that happened in the 70s and 80s. There's water beds. There's uh, interesting phrases that we use that I never thought I'd ever hear someone else say. But the gist of it is he wrote a book called The Infinity Within, and he comes at it from a very it's kind of what we talked about with Don Barden in the last podcast I did, which is the intersection of spirituality and economics. Kris has built multiple big businesses and off-sold businesses, but he had an amazing experience when he was younger, and it wasn't until he got older that he finally wrote The Infinity Within. He just wrote it in 2025, but he's got the framework around it I'm so in alignment with in terms of our soul. And he walks through 4 questions when it has to do with the soul. And they're very logical questions about whether we have a soul or not. And I'm very curious to see how you react to his questioning in there and these things that happen. But there's 3 things that he says, and I'm just going to leave you with this one teaser. He said that our souls are actually here to just do 3 things. 1 is to create stuff, 2 is to destroy stuff, and 3 is to play games. And that is the gist around this entire podcast. And he frames it and explains where his understanding has come from. And I totally resonate with what he said. The unlock that I got from the conversation with him was fantastic. I love doing these podcasts. I got to tell you, this is so much fun. And finally wrapping the concept around that we're just down here playing a game, almost like an escape room, but not quite an escape room in Earth. We'll call it the Earth School. Resonates so much with me. He's my newest, quickest best friend. I can tell that right away. We have Norwegian roots. We got both Viking blood in us. We have a very great conversation. Lots of stuff for you to think about and to assimilate into your own journey. Man, again, I hope you enjoy this podcast as much as I did recording it with Kris. I'm still trying to process it. You can tell I'm stumbling a little bit over my words because it was quite the experience. So there you go. Let's go explore. What's up, bud?
Not bad. How about yourself?
There you are. Awesome.
There I am.
Awesome. Dude, I am so excited to do this podcast with you. And by the way, we've started the podcast right now. This is how it works. Because I just
it is recording. I didn't even see the little recording button.
Oh yeah, dude, we're recording. We're on go, man. Like I love this. It's like I love it when I get this wasn't an outbound request by me. This was an inbound request from you saying, hey, or was it your team was reached out to me or whatever? And I was like looking, I'm like, well, hell yeah, I want to talk to this guy. You betcha.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
especially when I found out, like I said in the email, I've probably got 50, 60 relatives in Oslo and Stavanger.
Oh, there you go. Yes. Well, that's fantastic. Do you snakke du norsk?
No. I dabbled as a child because my mom took me to Norway a couple different times. And then on one of my companies, we merged with Tandberg Data out of Oslo. Mm-hmm. And so I spent a fair amount of time there, but just never really picked up the language. My language is not my specialty.
Okay.
So picking up, I mean, I lived in Milan for a year and my Italian sucks. So yeah, languages, for whatever reason, even the English language, I didn't do well with until probably 9th grade because my brain doesn't work in the idea that there's these rules, except that they really don't exist a lot of the time. And so, you have things like the number one, or I won something, and all these
Oh,
just little odd things, especially in
yeah.
the English language. In
Yes.
Norwegian, I don't know. In Spanish, it's more stable. In
Yes.
English, it's all over the flipping place. And so it took me until ninth grade to get really established. I mean, I could read really well. I was reading past college level at younger ages, but being able to write, it didn't get. I really didn't get really well at really focused and very good at writing until like ninth grade going on.
Yeah. I guess English language is one of the hardest to learn, I
It
understand.
is.
Because it's like you said, it's it one is can mean so many different things, right? Yeah. Yeah. Or there. Or
Yeah.
what is that, there or they are, or what the hell are we talking about? Um, so we call it the verbal language. I was having this conversation actually with my buddy Don Barden. He was on the podcast recently, and we were fumbling over. I said words they're the crudest way of communicating, almost like there's a and I can't wait to talk more about the infinity within in the book. I like that. For those of you that are not watching the video, there's this cool cutout of the book that Kris has got there, the infinity within. I find that words are the best thing we have, but they're still not, they can't convey the concept of God or understanding. Like you can understand something beyond words, like you can feel it, but you just can't articulate it. It's like the Tao Te Ching. It says that which is named the Tao is not the Tao. Yeah, that which you call God
Well,
is not God, because you've just
yeah, you've quantified it into a construct that's
yeah
extremely limited.
yeah
Yeah,
yeah
I mean,
exactly.
if I'm sure with all the different podcasts and all the stuff you've done in life, you've heard the idea that 80 to 90% of what we get in communication, like you and I having this conversation, has nothing to do with the words coming out of my mouth. It has to do
Right.
with my body language. It has to do with the inflection. It has to do with the way my eyes move. It has to, there's all these other things that we're communicating when we're communicating. And the words are a very small part of that understanding of what we're doing.
Yeah, that's why in the other coaching businesses I have, so I have like I coach accounting, I coach entrepreneurs and accountants, and accountants should be entrepreneurs, but they don't act like it all the time. But they go call them entrepreneurs. I said the one of the worst forms of communication is email. I said, email, you can't figure out inflection, tonality, whatever the person's feeling. They're going to read the thing on the piece of paper, and I see, I'm old school. I'm talking piece of paper now, but they're reading this text message or this email, and they're like, whatever I'm feeling at the time, I'm going to
Is how
impose
I'm going to
upon that.
absorb it.
And
It's how I'm going to absorb it. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm good. So if I'm having a really crappy day, what you say on an email could piss me off, or on another day would make me happy. So, yeah, so I totally get that the communication is it's the crudest form, and then but there's even more into intuitive knowing and understanding. Like when you meet someone and you just all of a sudden you feel a vibration,
Yes.
you're like, hey, I can hang out with this guy. Um,
Exactly.
so okay, so you thank you again for reaching out.
Thank
Tell
you.
me and the listeners a little bit more about yourself, and I can't wait to start exploring this, because the infinity within is just like, that cover is wicked too, by the way, man. That
Thank you.
looks great. I
Thank you.
love it. But yeah, give us a
So,
little background.
so I grew up in North Dakota. My mom is first generation Norwegian, and her mom and dad came from Norway and lived in a place called Bisbee, which is probably nobody knows about. And then my dad was an oil man, so we went between Bismarck and Golden, Colorado, my entire growing up, because he was in North Dakota for doing oil, and then in Colorado teaching at the School of Mines. So I'm sure that contributed to the way I thought and the way I did things, but I was pretty much an introvert slash nerd, and started working with electronics when I was like 10 years old at Radio Shack. So if you're talking about aging yourself, that should help.
Oh, it's like
Um,
you're Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory.
I don't know if I was
You could
that
But
I would say he's pretty far on the autistic
yeah.
scale.
Yeah.
Hopefully
But
I'm not there, and I'm not sure I would have run all the companies I ran if I was at his
no,
autistic level.
no. But I just meant his love
Yeah,
for Radio Shack. That's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Um,
Yeah. My daughter's
so
been loving the young Sheldon. That
yeah,
series, she's just diving. She loves that. She thinks it's absolutely hilarious. Anyway, sorry, keep going.
no
I got
worries.
sidetracked with Radio Shack. There you go.
So I started working really young. I kind of the first thing I started selling was fireworks, and then there's Team Electronics in the Midwest, which was the first distribution sales company that took on the Apple product. And this was, we're talking Apple II computers, and this was right after Steve got everything kind of going and selling the Apple II. And so I bought my first Apple II serial number 98 from them
Wow.
and started programming in BASIC and 6502 assembly at the time and became pretty good at it. And a couple of years later, a gentleman in North Dakota bought his first Apple because he wanted to do accounting for his third generational farm family. So he knew accounting, I knew programming. We got to know each other through him buying the computer from me. And this is right when he bought his Apple, the floppy drive came out. And
I remember those.
Yeah, the only thing you could store on an Apple II prior to that was a cassette tape, which sucked. It was really bad.
Yep.
It worked maybe 20% of the time. So I started coding. He told me what to write, and we got the accounting software, and then we sold it. Made a bunch of money.
Cool.
Went into severe depression. And
After building the company and selling it.
Yeah, and making a bunch of money.
Yeah.
And what happened is nowadays it's very common to talk about how people win the lottery and destroy their lives.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have all the answers, but I have an answer that happened to me and why. And that is, what happened is, in the material world, we're taught that we go work, we make money, and that, when we achieve those things, we've done what we're supposed to. And I'd achieved every goal at that age that I thought I had.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had nowhere to go. I had no path. It was like, I'm done.
Your purpose was completed. You had no purpose.
What I thought was my purpose was completed.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And so I remember scraping my way out of there by creating 3 goals that I can never fully accomplish, but I can always strive for. And that is to learn, to have fun, and do neither at the harm or impedance of others. And with those 3 goals, I kind of scraped my way up. And then I got hired by a bank in San Diego. And my boss's name was Kris. And he was a tried and blue atheist. And even though I have 0 issues with people believing whatever they want to believe, for me, it didn't sit right for him to have that belief. So I dug into it in my engineering way and came up with 4 questions that I could ask him or anybody that basically shows that all the upside is believing we have a soul and all the downside is believing we don't, regardless of whether we do or don't.
Okay, now you've piqued my interest. What are these 4 questions?
Okay, so assuming we're a piece of clay, meaning we have no soul, and we believe we have no soul, no harm, no foul.
Right.
And if we're a piece of clay and we believe we have a soul, the worst thing that happens is we might do nicer, better things.
Yeah, and when we're alive, we'll feel good about it. We'll have a good feeling about life because we will just go, I have a soul, so I feel good. Yeah.
Exactly. If we have a soul and don't believe we have a soul, then we're stuck. We're not going anywhere. If we have a soul and believe we have a soul, then we have the ability to expand into what we're supposed to be or could be.
Mm-hmm.
So again, whether you do or don't, I'm not going to argue it because I can't prove in scientific terms you do or don't, other than some things that have happened to me. And I would argue everybody I've ever talked to in my life, I can point at things that show them they have one, but but that's a whole nother discussion. So anyway, it changed his life fundamentally in answering those questions because he was very math driven and had that kind of focus. And so that allowed him to break into, okay, you know what? I'm going to play with the idea I have one and kind of see where that takes me. Then I'm going to take an offshoot because
were those the four questions?
That's it.
Those are the four. Those are the four options. Right. Okay.
Right. Well, and you can ask, right? You can make them questions.
Right. Okay. So just walk through them again, just so, because I was so engrossed in what you were saying. So let's walk through the four again, just so the listener understands. So
okay,
the first one is
we're a piece of clay.
We're a piece of clay.
And if you believe you're a piece of clay, what happens?
Yeah. Okay. So
right.
Do you believe you're a piece of clay?
If you're a piece of clay and you believe you have a soul, what happens? Which you actually answered.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you said it. You know, you're going to feel better. You're going to feel maybe a little.
Yeah, you're going to feel better. You're going to have. I'm a piece of clay with a soul, so therefore I feel like I have some purpose and I'm here. Yeah.
So you already started answering the questions, even though I made them as statements, which is how they work.
Okay, gotcha. Ninja move, man. That was ninja move. Okay, got it.
All right. So then the second part of the two questions is, all right, let's assume that you really do have a soul. And what happens if you believe you don't?
Right. If you have a soul and you believe you don't, well, then yeah. So if I had a soul and I didn't believe I had one, then I'm going to be walking through life going, what's the point? What's the point? Really?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you have a soul and you believe you have a soul,
then you have the ability to actually evolve into to evolve into who you are. I've often thought of it as an amnesia pill. Like all of a sudden, like we were a soul, we took an amnesia pill, came down here to have fun. And it's like we're up there. You know, you're up there and you're talking to all your buddies, and you and me were up there going, hey, let's go do this. And you take that pill, you be Kris, I'll be Eric, and then we'll talk on the podcast. But we won't know each other for 50 plus years, but then we'll meet each other and then we'll do this fun but we'll take an amnesia pill and we won't even know we're doing it.
You've been reading ahead.
Okay.
You have been reading ahead. You're going to love this. Okay.
All right.
So I'm going to take two side trips and then come back.
Okay.
To the soul part. So during my entire life, I've always had a fascination with theology, and I've studied pretty much, well, I wouldn't say all of them because that's not possible, but I've studied a bunch of them and done some pretty deep dives into the different theologies, what they mean, what they say, blah, blah, blah. And on top of that, I've had some what the normal world would call not real things happen in my life that happened. And not only did they happen, but a couple of them happened in such a way that they can't be imaginary from my perspective. Now, other people can listen to me tell you the story about them and go, yeah, that's BS and whatever. But some of the things that happened were so physically real that I couldn't step away from it and say, okay, the universe is what I'm told it is. So at 6 years old, I had a big out-of-body experience. The world went into kind of vapor smoke. Everything had that texture and consistency of like tissue paper or smoke. There was a toy train on the floor that I picked up, and it had like no material essence. And I could hear voices forever, and I could see through the walls, see through everything. So scared the crap out of me, ran into my parents. It went away. 8 years old, happened again, played with it a little bit more, got scared, ran away, came back. And of course, the next morning that didn't really happen, right? Because we're taught that those things aren't real. Then that takes me to another sideline of, how many kids see ghosts and then they're told that's not real and it's make-believe and all this stuff. Well, I would say kids are a lot more open to what's really real versus what we're told is real. Anywho,
And
And
just as
12
a
years
side
old.
note, as a side note, at 6 and 8 years old, the chances that you dropped LSD was very, very low.
Pretty minimal.
Yeah,
Pretty
you know
minimal.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying? The chances are
Yeah.
like so.
Pretty minimal. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what it was. So,
That's my point. Yeah.
yeah. So, and then at 12, because I started working at a young age, I did something that I really wanted to do. And that was I bought a Cal King waterbed. And so, and waterbeds, of course, you don't see them anywhere anymore. But back in those days, it was a big deal. And so I had this Cal King waterbed that sat on the carpet down. And I lived in the basement of the house. And I was sitting against the bed, and this out of body experience hit again. And I'm kind of playing with it and listening and looking and seeing all kinds of crazy things and all this. And I remember turning around, I took my finger and I pushed the bed, and it moved like 3 inches. Okay. Freaked the crap out of me, ran up to my folks, went away. Of course, they told me it was dreams, blah, blah, blah. The next morning, I go down. There's a mark in the carpet where the bed had been. Now, you tell me how I
You
moved.
actually pushed the bed.
You tell me how I moved a Cal King with my one finger.
Okay,
Not a Cal King, not a Cal King normal bed, Cal King water bed.
You and I are same era, man, because you talked about Radio Shack, you talked about waterbeds. I know exactly what you're talking about with the waterbed. Those things are insane.
Massive.
You cannot move them. You can't move those things.
No, they are massive. Okay. So that shifted my perspective on reality in a big way. So that combined with theology, now I'm going to take us back to, and I had some other things, the near-death experiences and other stuff, which to just put a pin in the Infinity Within, which we'll keep going around to. The Infinity Within is a non-fictional memoir of a fictional character that you follow through his life. And I'll stop there. Now back to the soul. So with that kind of background, and now me really focusing on the question of, do we have a soul? The very first thing my engineering brain says, okay, great. What is that? And what the heck am I doing here? And why? Right? So I start digging into it. What is a soul? Well, okay, dive into theology. The Bible tells me we are the children of God. Jesus tells his disciples, you will do everything I have done as your teacher and much more.
Yes.
Okay. And there's a bunch. There's not just 2 chapters and verses like this. It's throughout the entire Bible discusses that we have inherited all the abilities of God, that we are the full children of God, that we are able to do everything that Jesus showed as a teacher. Great. Okay. Back to the question, what are we doing here? What's the point? Okay. So a soul, I'll put a little wrapper around it, is a energy being that exists outside of time that has the ability to do pretty much anything. Well, what does anything look like? Could only come up with 3 things that a soul, omnipotent being, would do. Create stuff, meaning universes, planets, whatever they want, destroy stuff, and play games. Great. Now we take a look at the planet Earth. And let's wrap it around the construct of a game. What makes it interesting? Well, first off, it's a 4th dimensional universe, meaning the primary motivator is time. Time doesn't exist in 3 dimensions below, and in 5 dimensions and above, time is no longer the primary motivator, meaning the most important moving part. So in a 4th dimensional construct, planet Earth, we have time as the most important part. Great. What does time allow an omnipotent being to do that would be interesting? I could only come up with one thing.
Play a game?
Kind of.
Okay. What could time
let me reverse that just slightly, and then that'll give you a hint.
Okay.
Why would I play a game in a 4th dimensional universe that would be of interest to a soul?
I think it comes back to what I was saying before, is the only thing that would make a game interesting is that I didn't realize it was a game, so that I give myself amnesia to go and play it.
Okay, you're right around there, but the main reason
Yeah.
to play in the fourth dimensional universe, because it has the passage of time, is experience emotions.
Yes, and so the underlying connectivity back to my statement is how can a soul experience emotions if it's an
You've been
what was
reading
the word I
ahead.
used?
Omnipotent being.
Omnipotent. Thank you. How can it experience emotion if it's an omnipotent being? It can't, because it's omnipotent. So there's no, like, it's everything
It
everywhere
can.
all at once.
It can, and I'll tell you how.
Okay.
What makes a game a game?
That there are a set of rules. There's an adversary. There's two parties. They're playing against one another.
We'll call it pieces.
Yeah, there's pieces. Yeah. There's rules, and there's a defined outcome. Like there's a turns. Like, yeah, there's turns. You take turns. Okay, you take turns.
Okay.
And I guess
under
the rules would be, this is how you play the game. This is how you win the game. Right. Okay.
So there's only three things that make up a game: rules, turns, pieces.
Okay.
Great. Now we're gonna hit exactly what you've already said. So we're at the pearly gates, called the Planet of Earth game, and we're a soul, and we've decided we want to play because it has the ability to experience emotion in its fullest extent. But what are the rules? Rule 1. When we go play, we agree to put all of our soul-like abilities up here and leave them up away. We don't take them with us. Now that kind of works, except for exactly what you said. Is I'm running, my favorite dog's running across the street, gets hit by a car. I have my abilities up here. I just pull on him and go, no, that didn't happen.
Right.
And okay, I change it. Well, that doesn't really give me the ability to experience emotion, at least not all of them. So rule 2. Rule 2 is I agree to forget that I ever had them.
There comes back to my amnesia pill analogy. Yes. Agree to, okay.
However, those two rules by themselves create an infinite trap loop, which a soul, assuming they're really intelligent, wouldn't do. So rule 3 comes in, and that is I'm going to have turns, meaning lifetimes. And before I agree to enter into this game, I'm going to kind of decide what my turns are going to look like, what goals I want to achieve for for a turn to be finished, and what number of turns or things I want to accomplish before I leave the game look like. And so when I'm playing the game and I'm in a lifetime, I'm in my turn. If I don't accomplish what I've set aside from the early agreements, which I've agreed to forget I'd made, right? Then I get to do the turn over and over and over until I figure it out. And then I get to go to my next turn and my next turn and my next turn and eventually leave the game. And the 4th rule puts a pin in all of this and says, in order for me to play, I agree to be 100% invested in the game during the time I'm in the game. Meaning that I'm going to feel and be all of the emotions, because I'm not here to just, as a soul, I'm not here to play just all positive. I want the whole gambit. I want all of it. Because I'm a soul, I want the whole experience. I don't want just the positive stuff. I can do that and be bored somewhere else. In this game, I want to be 100% invested in the entire range of emotions that are possible for a being to have. And then there's 4 more rules that are in the book. But with those 4 rules, it hits exactly what you said, the amnesia pill. It's part of the remembrance part of where Jesus and the other teachers tapped into what they really are, what we really are, and then said, hey, folks, I figured out these connections. Let me show you how to do them. And then it's up to each one of us to take from that what we can or will.
See, this resonates with me. Like I can feel that it's like the weight comes off the shoulders and it starts to make more sense. And um I also I love the fact that, and so here's that I see the mirror in you and me, right? Because I have also, as a result of my experience, so I'm a recovered alcoholic. I've got 18 years sober. The whole purpose
Congratulations.
there is, well, it's good for everybody else, actually. What it is really good because you don't want me in active addiction. It's not good. But thank you. The whole thing for me has been seeking a higher power. God couldn't would if he were sought. And it's like the world is a treasure trove of information. So go seek a higher power. If you seek the higher power, that's how you stay sober. And it actually solves all your other problems at the same time. So as a result of it, step 11 is you seek through prayer and meditation to improve your conscious contact with God, praying only for knowledge of his will for you and the power to carry that out. As part of that is go and read all these different areas. So I've done, again, same disclaimer as you. I'm not a theology expert or anything, but I've read the Nisargadatta Maharaj. I've gone the Bhagavad Gita. I've read the Bible. They're all pointing to the same thing. They all point to the same thing. And the
Words
funny
are
thing
different, stories the same.
it's different. Yeah, my good friend Don Barton, I'll bring him up again. He goes, oh, it's just different branding. It's like a business, right? There are all these businesses and they're just different brands. You got Pepsi, you got Coca-Cola, right? So you've got Christianity, you got Muslim, right? It's just a different brand, right? But they actually are all pointing to the
To the
same
same things.
point, which is, and I love how you took it from a engineering scientific point of view. Logic, those four logical questions about a soul, are you a soul or not, and then walk through it logically and then go, logic dictates that the smartest answer is 4. You are a soul with a soul. You are a soul and you believe you have a soul, which then ties into the whole game and ties into all the other pieces that Jesus talked about, that they talked about. The Bhagavad Gita, which I think is an incredible story when you really dive into it and understand the nuances of it. But it's all pointing to the same thing. And so I love how you've tied that all in, man. Dude, this is awesome. I can't wait to read your book. I haven't read your book. I'm gonna get it. Like it is gonna be the first thing I'm gonna order.
It's
the first thing I'm gonna do after we get off this podcast.
Please do. The introduction.
Yeah.
I bring up 4 leaders or teachers, would be a better word.
Okay.
And my mom gets she understands it better now, but she got very upset with me on my 4th choice.
Okay.
So the first 4 teachers I talk about in the introduction of the book is Jesus, Buddha, Eckhart Tolle,
Mm-hmm.
and Elon Musk.
Okay.
And the reason being is that they are all teaching us what we're capable of doing when we remember who we are. And even though I would not say Elon would stand up and say he's a religious leader or a spiritual leader, he has absolutely broken the rules as far as you can't build a car dealership and win in today's world. Well, okay, he completely did that and then took over the world with it. You can't land spaceships. It's impossible. NASA's been in the business spending billions of dollars. In a few years, he's landing ships and reusing them constantly. It's impossible to run multiple multi-million-dollar companies from one person. Yeah, did that too. So he's been consistently told you cannot and it's impossible, and said, you know what? I'm not going to listen to you at all because I know what I can do, and has done it. And so whether it's Jesus teaching us how to heal or love or reincarnate or those things, or the Buddha telling us how to stay in peace and how to really be present within our own presence, right? Or Eckhart Tolle and how to still the mind and understand what we are truly, you've got Elon showing us from a more material point of view, but also from a creation point of view, what we're really capable of doing. And remember, the three things that a soul ultimately boils down to, as far as what they do, is create, destroy, play games. Well, what is he doing? He's creating in a big way, which gets also back to your comment about the 11th step, is when you start tying into that consciousness and start reaching in, what you're really doing is tapping into creation. And when you tap into creation, the rest of the stuff gets in your way.
That last line hit me very deeply. When you're in creation, all the other stuff gets in my way. Very much so. Yeah. I'm very much like, I love creating businesses and coming up with new ideas, and it's playful. It's fun. Like it's interesting. I've actually made a couple videos on that for the few businesses that I've had. And I came back around and see, this is where the synchronicity comes in, right? I'm starting to see the game, and this is fucking awesome, Kris. This is so cool. Okay. I was literally just doing a podcast, or not a podcast, doing a video for the Accountant Success Formula, which is, I'm coaching accounting firms how to get their freedom back and have a better model. But I said, I'm feeling all this heaviness and this deep, and everybody's getting, like, everyone's just feeling, and it's heavy. And I said, we need to relax and have a little fun here and laugh. Laughter is that highest form of energy vibration. It's joyful. It's fun. We need to have a little more fun. That ties right into the game, man. Like, when you're actually playing the game, it's fun, right?
Yeah, I mean, how many people in Monopoly, when they're playing Monopoly with their friends, complain about being the bank? It doesn't happen.
No.
Being a bank in Monopoly is fun.
Yeah.
Well, what the heck is the difference between being an accountant in the real world and being the accountant in Monopoly? Your perspective.
Yes. 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 Because they don't see it. I had this vision a while ago of writing a book called Life is a Sandbox, Go Play. Like we're all just building temporary sandcastles, and I would picture the little kids. There was a sandbox that was at the kindergarten where I grew up, and it was quite something. It actually had a fence around the sandbox. It was a fence, and it had the little turning, like at the turning kind of doorway, like it was a sliding that shifted open. But the parent, you'd dump all the kids in there, keep it closed. Well, I thought, well, why do they have the fence there? Well, the fence there was to stop the dogs from going in and shitting in there. I'm pretty sure that was one. Number two is that you put them in there, you didn't have to worry about them. So the moms would all throw the kids in there and let them go. But then there's little Timmy in the corner, and he's building a sandcastle. And then Johnny comes over and he kicks the sandcastle over, and Timmy, he starts crying. He's upset, and the parents are looking. And finally, like, I better go get my kid. And you go and you pick the kid up, and he's crying, and you're just like, relax. It's just a sandcastle. It's not a big deal. It's just temporary. You just get to play with it, and then it goes away. And that's what I've had, this vision of life, that I've kind of wrapped my head around that and going, we're just in a temporary sandbox playing a game. And I see the creator looking down on me every time I have my temper tantrum and I cry and I freak out. It's just the same way as a mother coming in and picking up his little son going, it's okay. It's just
the only shift I would give you is that creator that's looking down on you is actually you.
Yeah, there's the brain burner. And therein lies the shift. That is a huge shift, because instead of seeing God as the Father, we are actually, and that's what Jesus said too.
I know.
The Father
over and over again.
The Father, keeps saying the Father and I are one. And I love this. I shouldn't say I love this. I probably get blasphemy, and all the Christians are going to hate me, but I don't give a fuck. They're like, Jesus is the only Son of God. I'm like, you never said that.
Never.
That Jesus is the one and only Son of God. Like, where did that bullshit come from? Like, where did it come from?
Didn't happen.
No, he never said that. He said God,
never.
The Father.
In fact, Jesus Jesus is quoted as saying multiple times, you are me. We're one and the same. You will do
Yes.
everything I've done and so much
And
more.
more. Yeah.
He's very clear about this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what's interesting, so when I was a child growing up, my parents are United Methodist, and we went to church. And then I had some friends I even had friends that were Orthodox Catholics, which is pretty stringent in the way they look at things and stuff. And the one thing that never sat right with me, not that it's wrong, I mean, everybody has their beliefs and they're all okay. But for me, as a child growing up, it never sat right with me that I had to look up and put Jesus on this pillar and put God up above me.
Yeah.
And I never understood it. I mean, and when I came up with the concepts for the book 40 plus years ago, I didn't even really understand it as crystal clear is when at the beginning of 2025 is when my wife said, you must finish your book. So I sat down for 3 months, 4 months and took all my notes from 40 plus years ago and wrote the book. And when I put pen to paper is when this concept actually crystallized for me. And that is, maybe all these teachers, all these theologies don't want pedestals. Maybe all these things that they're teaching us and talking about are there to remind us of who we are. And then what's interesting, go read the Bible with that concept in mind, that we are all co-creators in this game and that we are all able to do everything that these teachers are telling us. And then start reading the chapters and verses with just that little shift. And all of a sudden they become really clear. They, like, for me at least, when I was reading the Bible and after putting pen to paper and actually crystallizing this thought process and then actually rereading it again, it was like, oh, yeah, that chapter and verse is actually literal. It's not empirical. It's not way out here. They're saying it because they're literally saying, go do this now. And one of the interesting things about Jesus is when he did things, he didn't say it's going to happen next week or next month. He did them right now. The healings, the changes, the shifts, there was no delay. He tapped into what some people call the source or the co-creation part of us or the part that we agreed to forget. And he went and did those things now.
Okay, here's a fun thought. Do you think Jesus broke the rules by recognizing his soul while he was down here? Do you think he broke the rules of the game? I just thought about that because when you bring that,
absolutely, it's a great question.
Wait a second.
So there's two ways.
Yeah. Or
There's
that
two
was
ways
part
to
of the
look at it.
game
One
for him.
is,
Yeah.
Well, think of it this way. Again, when we agreed to come in, we already kind of laid out our floor plan in very rough, because you don't want to predetermine everything, because then what the hell's the game, right? If I go into Monopoly saying I get Boardwalk and Park Place to start, what's the point? But what I am going to say is I'm going to move pieces around, and I'm going to collect money, and I've got this go thing, and whatever the rules are. So when we come in as souls, we don't want to restrict ourselves. We want to make, and oh, by the way, I'm going to take a little side bent here. Do you play tic-tac-toe?
Well, yes, with my daughter. I played hours of that. Yeah, it's so fun.
But how much do you really play? I mean, is it that much fun?
I used to play around with my daughter when she was little, and I would just muck with her. And then finally she got it and she was like, oh, well, that's fine. Right. Now she
okay. So tic-tac-toe, we could all pretty much argue, is pretty boring. I mean, once you figure out you can block everything, you're pretty much done, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you got this omnipotent bee not going to pick a simple game to play. It's not going to have simple turns. It's going to be complex as all get out. And one of the things that's talked about both in the Bible and the agnostics is the archons. And the archons are supposed to be the creators of realities. Now, in the agnostic point of view, they're dark gods that feed on negative energy, negative emotion, negative energy. I took a little softer approach And the reason I did is I said, well, if I'm an omnipotent being and I'm a co-creator of this game, I'm probably not going to put really evil stuff in necessarily, like things that can really harm the essence of what I am. But I would agree to put in some players or playing pieces that could really make my life challenging and difficult when I'm playing, and have the ability to reinforce illusions. And one of the things I discuss in Infinity Within is this concept of fear, doubt, and the curtains of illusion. It's called the orchard illusions, which is the thing that we call real, and the orchard hush, which is when we start connecting to what we really are. And one of the things I discuss that Gabe discusses with his mentor Elias is, well, why can't I remember? Kind of getting back to your question about Jesus breaking the rules. Was he breaking the rules, or was he quickly attaching and remembering who he was? Which may be why he left in the way he left in maybe just one turn. He may have only played one turn.
Right. Oh, let's put it this way. Maybe he didn't break the rules. He won. He leveled up the
Accelerated
game
for him.
Yeah, but he won the game, so to speak. Like he went, remembered who I am. Got it. And like, it's like someone has also mentioned it to me. It's like, you ever do escape rooms? Like in an escape room, and my daughter loves escape rooms, and she's 13 now. So we go and we're doing the escape room, and it was really interesting because we were trying to figure out how to get out, and trying to figure out how to get out. And then all of a sudden my wife went, "Oh, I think I figured it out." And she pushed the button, the door open, and my daughter was so pissed. She was so pissed. I was so angry at her. She goes, "Mom," and she was all upset. Like, you solved the game, and I wanted to be the one to be part of the solution. Like, so it's almost like, if you think about it that way, Erin went and solved the game, and Isla got upset because she's like, "No, I still wanted to play it out. I wanted to find the exit myself."
Why did Jesus get crucified? Maybe there were a bunch of players that didn't want the game solved.
He was being my wife. Jesus was my wife, and he was showing the solution. And just as he was about to go and push the button to open the door, everyone went, "No, no, 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 no." Because I'll tell you right now, if my daughter had an opportunity to stop my wife from doing it, she would have thrown her up on that cross in a heartbeat and go, "Nope, no, no, no. I want to keep playing."
So for the people that needed to hear what Jesus had to say, which people are still hearing for a very long time now, called the Bible, that's his teachings, and the things he chose to do for his game still exist. But he may have completely reattached to what he really is and been done, and then came back to show everybody what is possible, and then left from the game permanently. But ultimately, what he did, now he may have played turns before this too. I don't know, but he was here for a purpose. And this comes, I think, a couple minutes ago, you're talking about you and I meeting and having this podcast. Some people call these things coincidences. I learned a long time ago there are no such things as coincidences. In fact, I have a word for this. It's called, there are no such thing as quinkadinks. And that is that growing up, I could be at a coffee shop or a restaurant or pretty much anywhere, and random people would come up, pull up a chair, tell me their life story. We'd have a discussion. They'd get up and they'd leave. And that was it. And a lot of times I'd have people say, "Well, that's just a coincidence. They happen to be there and they happen to want to talk." And I said, I get that. But what I learned is there are no such things as quinkadinks. These people sat down because we are connected. They needed to come talk to me. They needed to hear something I had to say, and I needed to hear something they had to say. So we made an agreement up here. We then came together in time, achieved whatever it is that we wanted to achieve, and then separated, which the original name for this book was actually called The Soul Path. And then I decided to go with the Infinity Within as a different name, but the original idea was how our soul path is always connected and intersecting, and there are no coincidences. Everything that happens because it's part of the grand picture of our co-creation.
I heard absolutely everything you just said there, but I cannot get my attention off the fact that you just said coinkydink. Because, dude, like this is where this is where you and I must be brothers from another mother. Because I remember as a kid, my dad saying that. It was like,
No
oh,
way.
there's the oh yeah, he called it a
No
coinkydink.
way.
Oh yeah, dude. Like,
Okay, that's the only person that's ever told me they've ever heard that word before.
no. As soon as you said that, I felt like a little kid again. And I'm going, I remember that the coinkydinks. My dad would call it a coinkydink.
That's
Yeah,
amazing. Who
I
knows?
know.
Maybe in the past life I was attached somehow.
So, but you see, but let's go back to what you said is that, and what Jesus said is that you and I are one. We're the same. We are the same. And there's a little, it's like the game of Clue. You're trying to find clues to the game. And there was one clue that was just a little coinkydink that just gave me the coinkydink that just said, no, we actually are the same person. We are the same being. We are one, because there was the little, it's like the escape room. There's little clues everywhere, right? And we're down here playing and having fun. And I love the way that you've simplified the soul's purpose is to create, to destroy, and to play, right? Because that's what's happening the whole time here, is that things are constantly in a state of creation to solution, and that's the game. That's the game. And again,
That's exactly right. Spot on.
There's the coinkydink again, the Viking Academy. So I do shots in the Viking Academy. So anybody who wants to join the Viking Academy, they join the Viking Academy, they get extra resources. But I do every 2 weeks, I do what's known as a Viking shot. And basically I'm just sharing my thoughts of what's happening currently and what I'm exploring in my experience. And that was one of the things that I was sharing. Like I just shared that. Like
No way.
yeah. Like
that's amazing.
Well, but you see, in the last 24 hours, these coinkydinks are like flooding me right now. Like this is nuts. This is fun. Wow.
It is.
Wow. Okay. So my spiritual guide Tammy Grantham talks about this too. She said we give each other codes, right? Like we're sharing codes. We're doing that. We're sharing this information back and forth to give ourselves clues to say, oh, here's another clue. Oh, now, I can go play with this now for a little bit. And then I find something more like, oh, and I feel like I'm getting close, right? And then something hits me, knocks me down. Like in this week has been the same thing. I had some business news that brought me down. A couple big clients gone, and so cash flows dropped. Then you go into that 4-dimensional, scared and fear. I'm feeling all that crap, and I've been just going, all right, it's part of the game. And so the minute I said that, and the minute I put that perspective, coinkydinks are happening all over the place.
Yep, that's how it works. My wife had a challenging childhood, and we got together and we met in San Diego, and we now have 3 young boys. And during our journey together, she's asked me a lot of questions because I tend to look at life in a pretty positive way. And it's not that I don't think bad things can happen, because bad things do happen. It's just the way I approach them. And when they hit me, I try to look at them always as a learning experience versus a damaging experience. And I'm not successful all the time, but pretty well. So she would always ask me questions, and I would pull from excerpts from what's in the Infinity Within. And that's what got me in, as I mentioned earlier, at the beginning of 2025, she says, you have to, the things you've shared have changed my life so fundamentally that you must put this in this book. You need to get it out into people's hands. So then you ask your question, was it a coinkydink I met my wife in San Diego under the terms and conditions that I met her under, which would be considered really strange? or were we meant to meet and then go through what we went through and then get this book out, which is yet another set of codes that we get to pass back and forth?
Yeah. I've got a new sense of lightness right now. Like
Awesome.
like a joyful um yeah, it's lightness is probably the best word for it. Like there's a like a little spring and I'm kind of like, "Oh, oh, right, this is a game." Right? Like it's all of the things that you've been talking about and all the connections that we've had, like the word "winky ding," man. How could that have been an actual code unlock? Right, that one right there. That was like that's insane. Um,
I kid you not. I've talked to many, many, many people, and you were the first person ever to reflect
hmm,
that back and say they've heard that word.
no, you brought me right back to my childhood.
That's incredible.
I was right back in the '70s, listening to my dad say that stuff, and I was like, wow. Um, there's a lightness and a joy. So, like for me, so the Viking Academy has been for me an entrepreneurial venture, like creating a brand new platform. But I haven't had a real clear vision on what it was going to do, or right. And I've been just kind of going, let's just play with it and let's just see what it wants to be. Like I honestly believe the Viking Academy has a soul of its own almost, right? Like it's wanting to play and be part of that.
It's a creation.
And and it's a creation and it's playful, but it's so different from anything that I've created in the past. In the past, it was very three-dimensional. Here's the business, here's the like kind of like what you're doing, programming, accounting, put it together, crunch that. This one has been more, I don't know, free flowing and fun, and it's the exploration like on these podcasts, and I find and I get all these different codes. It's just it fires me up. Like I get
Yeah.
more energized, more fun. um yeah. So okay, you literally just finished this book then?
It got
Like
published. So I finished it the first 3 months of January. I've been a self publisher. So what happened was, let's jump all the way back to when I was 20 in the Depression.
okay.
I started answering all those questions, came up with the construct of all the things we're discussing, including the 8 rules, and then hired a ghostwriter to write the book because I wanted to make sure that the details of what I put together were formulated. The ghostwriter lady kept wanting to make it her own story and putting her own stuff in it. So I fired the ghostwriter. I took all my notes and I put them in a filing cabinet, but because I was not an author. Writing was not a comfortable thing for me. And I'd sold my first company. And so I went the technology route. I went the materialistic route. I went the serial entrepreneur route. And I founded 11 other companies. And I took one public, and my largest company was 1,700 plus employees. And the rest were either acquired or merged. And so I've had a very successful high tech entrepreneurial journey. But through all of that, the fundamentals of what we've discussed have been in play. And so even though I was a workaholic and really didn't have a lot of time for family, which is why my family's, a little later in my life. I mean, I was working 17 hours a day, 7 days a week kind of stuff. And because I was in the middle of the creation of stuff I really love to do. And that's what I did. And so when we met in San Diego and then decided to move to Texas, I kind of disconnected myself. And plus I had a company, the last company, which isn't in the 12 because I was co-founded as the 13th. Interesting number 13. Anyway, my two partners that brought me in ended up self-destructing the company by trying to get half the investors to take over the other one and blah, 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 and destroying the company. And I was kind of fed up with the whole thing after that. And so I disconnected from that whole environment.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I moved to Texas, I started writing books. And the first book I wrote had to do with a hobby I had in San Diego, which is building houses. And so it's called How to Build Your Dream Home. And it's a 10-book series of which 5 are published. The 6th, I've got illustrations I'm working on. And it got me comfortable in the authoring way. It got me comfortable putting what was in my head to paper. And then I wrote a book called The Finance Book for Young Adults, which is a finance book I wish I had had when I was in my teens, because nobody teaches business and money and how money really works and how the ultra rich look at money and why they look at it so much differently than we do. And then that got me in the book.
What's that book called again?
Finance Book for Young Adults.
Okay.
And so that gave me the confidence and the knowledge of how to write a book and take all my notes from the filing cabinet and sit down and finish this book. And then I chose to use Balboa Press to publish this one instead of my own publishing company, because I wanted to get it in front of Hay House.
Right.
And I've had a couple discussions with the CEO there, and we'll see what happens. But
it's the same CEO.
No, unfortunately, Louise Hay, who founded the company, passed.
No,
10 years ago or so.
She sold it to her accountant.
No, didn't sell it. She passed. What happened is you're talking about Reed, who was her
Reed.
accountant.
Yeah.
Reed is now the CEO.
Yeah, he is.
Reed
the CEO,
actually was. Yeah, he was brought in as the CEO when Louise was still alive.
Oh, okay. I thought he owned the company.
No, he doesn't own it. It's actually owned by Penguin now. Okay. I think it's Penguin. It's one of the real big ones that bought Hay House a few years ago. You're absolutely spot on that he was the accountant, and he left his accountant job to become her CEO.
Yes.
And then they worked together for, I want to say 10, 15 years. And then she passed. And now Reed is the president CEO of Hay House. And I've had a couple talks to him directly like this. Yeah. So we'll see where that goes. One of the exciting things is I just sent a hardcover copy of the book to Esther Hicks' office here in San Antonio.
Awesome.
So we'll see. I mean, Melissa, who's been a fantastic, she works with Esther, has been fantastic. She says, she can't promise anything, but that they have an interest in taking a look. So they have it. So we'll see what they do with it. That's
cool. That's so cool. Okay. So then where can people get the book now? I've
been blessed. So right now you can get it even at Walmart. You can get it at Barnes and Noble. You can get it at there's a store in Norway. I forget the name of it that you can buy this in now. If you go to Kris Land, KRISLAND.com, that's my main author page. And there's other support pages. There's theinfinitywithin.com. There's theinfinitywithin.me, which is dealing with the 21-day companion journal that I put together for people. There's many places. If you type in The Infinity Within by itself or with Kris Land, I take over like the first 3, 4, 5 pages of Google.
Okay.
So you can find it.
That's awesome. Okay. So now the entrepreneur in me, which is I'm playing now with it. I'm playing with the entrepreneur role. Like, shall we call it? This is the role I'm going to play as the entrepreneur. What do you have in your vision for this chapter of Kris, shall we say? Because Kris was doing all the other, shall we call it, the other businesses in the past that were like 3-4 dimensional. Now we're talking about actually breaking through and showing you how to play the game to almost solve it. It's almost like you're giving us here's how you solve the game. here's the right for those who want to actually find their solution to the game. It's like the Rubik's Cube. You remember I learned how to solve the Rubik's Cube. And once you know how to solve it, it's kind of like, it's boring. Well, then that's why they've created like 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 layer Rubik's Cubes. I envision that this world, this earth, it's not a simple Rubik's Cube. It's like a 10-layer Rubik's Cube that we're trying to unwind. And you're just bringing a book that says, here's how you solve the 10 level 10 by 10 by 10 Rubik's Cube. Right?
Well, it's you follow Gabe through a story, because again, I've been extremely fortunate in the reviews I'm getting, which is the book does not preach. It doesn't tell people what to think or what to believe. That's not my goal. My goal is for you to follow Gabe through a story and read what he accomplishes and learns through his teacher, Elias, who doesn't really teach. He asks questions, lots of questions. And so through Gabe answering Elias's questions, you get to start seeing potential mirrors of things that have happened in your life. And as I mentioned a while back, I have many people that just sit down and have a talk with me. And out of every single person I've talked to, there has not been a single one that hasn't had miracles of some type happen to them that they were told were not real, or you made it up, or came up with their own reasons not to believe in it. But when they started really talking about it and digging into it, it took on a reality, which is one of the things that the Infinity Within kind of helps take a look at. Is you have coinkydinks happening every single day. And when you start paying attention and asking, what does it mean? What is it? And why? You start breaking down doubt. Doubt is the thing that keeps the illusional veil in place of reality. Doubt is what the archons play on. And let me give you an example. Let's say that I want to sit down and I want to take a spoon and I want to bend it.
Hey.
One of my favorite scenes in The Matrix is when Neo goes and the child says, yeah, the spoon's not real. And understanding that, then this is child's play.
I'm not bending this. How did you bend the spoon? I'm not bending the spoon. There is no spoon.
There is no
He's
spoon.
doing this.
Exactly. So let me share the emotional context that I go through when I bend a spoon. And this might resonate with a lot of people. So I go there and I'm concentrating and I'm doing all this stuff and it's not bending. And then all of a sudden I get it to bend. I run two emotions back to back and within milliseconds of each other. The first one is elation. Oh my God, I bent the spoon. The next emotion that hits like in milliseconds is, no, you didn't. It's make believe. The spoon snaps back to its normal shape and it never happened. And so what happens is doubt snaps into place, even though I was able to breach doubt for a moment. Asking questions and understanding what doubt is and the power of doubt and the power of removing doubt, meaning 100% is close to 100% belief as you can get. The closer you get, the more you tie into what you really are. And you can teleport, and you can bend spoons, and you can move paper, and you can do all kinds of really cool stuff. We have them happening all the time. We're just taught to ignore them.
That doubt that crops up, and the fear that comes with doubt, that is the thing that really hits me. Like, as I've been exploring through this, and so I've shared this on other podcasts, and I've had experiences visiting interdimensional beings. They've come and met me in the middle of the night, and we're talking, I'm awake, I'm looking at them, and it's terrifying, and I'm screaming, and my wife goes, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, and then they disappear. I did a past life regression or a spiritual regression to see my spirit guides with Tammy or with Nikki Hughes, and they all showed up there, and they were all there, and I'm like, holy crap! Like, but then I experience it, but then I have some friends that say some friends that go, I listen to your podcast, man. You're getting way out there. Like,
yeah, you're doing some weird stuff.
Yeah, Eric, you're like I was following you in the beginning, but now I can't quite really follow what you're talking about. The interesting thing, Kris, is that I didn't react the way I thought I normally would, which is would be like, oh, okay, and kind of get like this. I was just like, okay, fine. You don't have to.
Oh, it's
like,
okay.
I know what I experienced, but there's always that little sliver of doubt. And every time I have a sliver of doubt, I feel fear.
Bingo.
Every time I have doubt, I feel fear.
Bingo. They work hand in hand. Fear and doubt are the concrete that keep the illusionary veil in place. As you look at fear as a signpost. Underneath that signpost, you will find a doubt or doubts. Eliminate the doubt, you get to belief, and you get to see through the veil and see what you're really capable of doing.
You know, it was interesting. I had this vision and I wrote it up on my whiteboard, um, which was the Viking. It was a Viking Academy vision. And the Viking, and it was something, it was forge a new operating system and realize how powerful you truly are.
Bingo.
That was the vision I had on there. I wrote it on the board and I saw it and it felt incredible. And it was like, oh, this is it. This is it. And then all of a sudden, yeah, a little bit of doubt popped in. Oh, a little bit of fear popped in. Oh yeah, you can't do that, Eric. And I'm walking away. I'm like, see you bye. Right? Like I'm gone. Like and then I stopped, right? Because the fear and the doubt came in, but that hit me very clearly. Like it was forge a new operating system. They kind of the guise of the Vikings, right? We'll call it spirituality wrapped in a Viking blanket. Like forge a new operating system and realize how powerful you truly are.
Exactly.
Which is the same, thank you for that, Kris, because now all of a sudden I'm like, that was the teachings of Jesus. That was the teachings of the Buddha. That is the Nisargadatta Maharaj. That is the Bhagavad Gita. Yeah.
Different words, same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, thank you. I mean that. I like the bottom of my heart, thank you. Like that just yeah. Now I see it. Now I see it. Now I see the creation, the thing that I'm going to play with the Viking Academy.
Absolutely. In the book, what I try to, so the way I learned how to write Gabe as a character came from reading Eckhart Tolle's The New Earth. When I read The New Earth about 10 years ago, I got a certain amount of things out of it. I then set the book down because it's a pretty deep read. Set it down, and about 3 years later, I picked up and read it again. And it's like somebody came to my shelf, took the book, and reprinted a brand new book, because what I got out of it was completely different than what I got out of it the first time. And then I set the book down and 2 years later read it, and it's like, yeah, I didn't get any of that this time. I'm hoping that the Infinity Within does that for people, that when they read it, they get something from it, but then they pick it up and they're more open or more ready or just have a different perspective on how life operates, and they get more from it or different from it. And every time they pick it up, they get something new from it.
I've experienced that same thing. Any book that has a spiritual truth behind it, like it's a spiritual truth, like a truth, call it that, spiritual truth, I'll go and pick it up and read it, and I'll go, I don't remember them having this part in here, because I couldn't see it or I couldn't comprehend it the first time I read it. So like every time, so the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous is one of those ones. Literally, people say this all the time. They go, I opened it up and read it again, and all of a sudden I was like, when did they put that in there? And everybody's laughing and the reason why everyone's laughing is because they all experience the same thing. Because when you first come in, you're clouded, right? You don't have perception. You can't see things properly because you're still clouded with all the toxins and the thinking. And even after you stop drinking, you have to get your mind reoriented. But you're reading this book, and all of a sudden it's like they wrote something new in here. And it's like, no, it's always been there, but I know what you're feeling because I did the same thing, right? I didn't see it. So like every spiritual book I've read has done the same thing. The Bible's the same way. The Bhagavad Gita, yeah, they're all the same. So I would say the Infinity Within is this book that you've written in a spiritual energy. It will have the same effect.
I'm hoping.
Yeah.
It hasn't been long enough yet for anybody to test that theory too much. My mom's read it like 3 different times and says she's gotten a lot out of it. So that's been really cool.
That is cool.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, it is.
Sorry, just to come back to the
Yep.
question that I just want to come back and finish the first question that I had about this. Do you see any with business that wraps around the infinity within, or how you bring the message out, or like what do you have a vision on that?
Yes. So, in a similar way, I have the Building Wealth Clinic, which is similar to your Viking thing. I got in out here in Texas. I started working with a VC group and an angel group and doing business building and helping entrepreneurs either get their company back online or starting it from fresh. Building Wealth uses a combination of AI and old world techniques to build companies at a much faster pace than what could have been done before AI was available. But that, even though I was having a lot of fun and I was really enjoying and still do enjoy the people I'm working with, the infinity within has given me a different depth of spark where not only am I changing people's business lives, but I'm changing the way they look at life. And that's been a profound change for me because it's really powerful to see what it's doing. So I want to get the infinity within in everybody's hands. I've already finished the second full draft of the second book for this. This is actually a trilogy,
Oh,
and
cool.
it's called The Orchard Hush. And I already have a rough outline of the third book, which is The Light That Stays. And the idea is the first book kind of gives people an understanding of how to get reconnected and start really being what I think we really are. And it gives you tools to do it. It's kind of like baby stepping through actually reattaching to these things and doing these things. One of the things that was fun was 2 weeks, 2 months after I wrote the book and published it, one of the social media things came up, and there's a school in India where they have kids. And they've got these little glass globes with a little pin and a piece of paper inside, a pinwheel, and it's covered. And they sit there and they concentrate to spin it. Well, what this is doing is it's allowing telekinesis to become real, not real, real. It's reattaching these kids to that before all the blocks and all the things we're told we can't do. These kids are young enough where they haven't been taught all these can't do's. And so they're sitting there spinning these pinwheels in this class, similar to bending the spoons. Those are baby steps for reconnecting, seeing through the doubt, seeing through the curtain, and actually connecting into your creation, co-creation capability. And then it was funny, there's a YouTube channel, Neville, God, what is his name?
Oh, Neville. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I can't think of his first name. It's not Eckhart. It's an otter. Probably have it.
Yeah, I know.
But I've been
I know what you're talking
listening.
about.
I've been listening to his podcast or his YouTube stuff, and it's like, okay, either he's a past life version of me, or he read my book, or I read his book that he never published, or I never saw. But the stuff he's saying, it's like, holy crap. This is right on. So the things I have in the infinity within Neville Goddard.
Neville Goddard. Feeling is the secret. Feeling is
Yep.
the secret. That was a manuscript. Well, that's an Neville Goddard was like way back, man.
I'm talking a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is I discuss a past life experience in the book that happened to me when I was in I think I was 21. Yeah, I would have been about 21-ish, I think, 21, 22. I just had moved to California. I think that's right. And a friend of mine's friend was getting married. And they knew them well. So I got to sit up at the bride and groom's table across the table from the groom's mom and dad. Dad's name was Richard. I remember this because of what happened. So we're sitting there and just talking normal. We've never met each other, right? We're just having a full on conversation. And we start talking about this manufacturing floor in Chicago and these Mercury sedans and this particular type of amphibious vehicle for World War II. I forget what it was called. I could bring it up. It's in the book now because I wrote everything down. So we're having a full-on discussion about how actually he and I had worked together on this floor and had barbecues together and knew the same people and had a full-on discussion, right? We're like for a half hour talking about stuff we've done together. We reconnected, like we're having two friends reconnecting, right? And then I look over at his wife, and his wife is staring at me, and she is sheet white. And she says, how old are you? I said, well, I'm 20. It was 20. She says, you need to understand that you two right now are having a conversation of things that happened 40 years ago. So, yeah, what we're taught is real, not so much. I mean, the Egyptians dig pretty deep into reincarnation and how that looks and why. And the turn-based system makes a lot more sense now.
Yes, and there's been a feeling. I've had this feeling that there's been lost knowledge that we had way back when, that we just forgot as part of the game. Like it was a forgotten. It wasn't like it's not this, oh, it's a tragedy, we forgot that. No, it was part of the game. We were supposed to forget because we did, because it's part of the game. And that just brings the lightness and the joy back into it. It was like, no, if you look at Machu Picchu, you look at the pyramids, you look at all this stuff, it's like, I'm sorry, guys. We don't even have the technology today to build that stuff.
Or even understand it fully.
Or even understand it fully. Like, I mean, you see rocks pulled together and it looks like they've been melted together. You can't even put a piece of sheet of paper together. And like how is that possible? No, it's melted, right? But it's technology and abilities that we forgot because it's part of the game. Now I feel like we're starting to wake up to it, because that's this phase of the game where we're actually starting to talk about this more. And this is the conversation I had with my good friend Don Barden. Again, we were talking about on the podcast I recorded with him yesterday, actually, which he wanted to talk about, and he's a behavioral economist. Beautiful guy, beautiful human being. He's one of my best friends, and he wanted to have the podcast to talk about where spirituality and economics meet, and it's a whole new way of being. And so I see this, what you have with all your experience of building businesses and pulling it all together. And now you've brought in the spiritual, and you're bringing this is where they're going to meet, right? It's like, it's not spirituality is over here and economics is over here. No, it's all one thing.
All creation.
Right? Yeah, it's all creation. And so that's where I was asking, that's where my mind was going. It's like, where do you see this infinity within coming out and teach this?
I'm going to continue to get the other two written. I'm going to continue to reconnect in a big way with people like yourself and all over the globe. I've already had a couple podcasts with some folks in Australia, Barbados, Italy. So, getting this out there and still applying business where people want me to apply business, because I have a fair amount of business experience that I can help people get their companies off the ground or do stuff and work with. But exactly what you were showing, the melding of the two has become a much bigger reality for me.
Mm-hmm.
And, I did the material thing. In a big way. And what's interesting is that the beginning of my material story actually started with the spiritual part of building the infinity within construct. And then it went in a filing cabinet.
Mm-hmm.
And then 40 plus years later, came out of the filing cabinet and created a full circle. So it's like
Yes.
all the materialistic stuff I did, I learned what I really enjoyed. I love the creation and building companies and working with people. And people say, well, if you've done it once, it must have been easy doing the second company. I said, no. Second company is totally different than the first one. Third one's totally different than the other two. And I've got stories that are just some of the stuff you can't make up in each company. But it's all wrappered around the infinity within construct wrappers around that whole time. And it gives me a very, I think, unique perspective on what to go, which is why I'm kind of struggling in answering your question. Where am I going with this? I think I'm just going to see where it takes me.
Okay. Can I put this? I'm putting this out there, dude. Okay. My vision for the Viking Academy is that I did Viking because the Vikings were explorers. They encompassed their mind, their body, and their spirit, right? They were warriors. And because they had such a strong connection to their spirit, they wanted to die with a sword in their hand, right? So these are the explorers, and they're fearless explorers. Academy, because I see this is like a school. And do you remember the spiritual teacher Krishnamurti? Have you done any listening or to him at all?
I don't think
Oh,
so.
dude, you should look him up. Krishnamurti. He was supposed to be the next coming of Christ, and they thought he was going to be the chosen one. But his teachings are so piercing. It's amazing. His concept, he said, a mind that is constantly learning can never be hurt. So I was like, well, okay, if we're in a constant state of learning, then we're constantly being open, and it's like you're never attaching solidly to one thing. So it's like a school, you're constantly learning. So I kind of put the Viking Academy as an earth school. Do you know what I mean? But it's
Absolutely.
not an earth school in the sense of learning how to build construction stuff. It's reconnecting and forging the new operating system to realize how powerful you really are. So I see it as a school for awakening. But I don't see myself as being the teacher so much as maybe the Barnum and Bailey's ringleader, like the greatest showman on earth or whatever, is that I'm bringing together the collection of teachers like yourself, and it becomes a platform. Like I want to see it as a resource platform for awakening.
Yeah, absolutely.
To the power within, right?
Exactly right.
So I'm putting that out there because
Yeah,
that's kind of
I'm
what
absolutely open to it.
yeah, because that's what I'm looking at, and I'm bringing together the people, and again, with your knowledge of platforms and stuff like that, maybe we can make something incredible here where we can bring it out in a big way, and it's not just one teaching. It's and the interesting thing, it's all branding pointing to the same direction, but everybody can have their different paths. So it's almost like pick your own adventure game. Let's think of it that way. Like you get to pick your own adventure game. All of the roads lead to the final point, but you get to
Yeah.
choose which way you want to go. So anyways, that just kind of came to me just now.
Yeah, absolutely. There's many ways. Well, again, it's kind of coincidence, right? Because as you build these tools, as you start doing the ring leading and or leading, you're going to make connections which are not coincidence. They are intentional. They are because we are ultimately all connected, and we are all creating hints to how to play the game and how
Mhm.
to do more of what we maybe want to do. There's everybody's on their own path, everybody's on their own thing. But for the people that are on this particular path, we might be helpful and instrumental in guiding them along that direction.
Bingo. Bingo. Um, okay, I'm really excited to go play more now. As a
Awesome.
result of this conversation, this is a full on coinky dink. This is no,
It's not a full-on coincidence.
it's not a full on coinky dink. It was completely what we wanted, and I
What we
love it.
needed.
Yeah, and oh, Kris, this has been awesome, man. Again, the infinitywithin.com is where people can go. They punch that
That's
in.
one of the places. Yeah, krisland.com
Yeah.
or theinfinitywithin.com or just Google.
Okay, awesome. Dude, we've got a lot more conversations and more playing to do together, but we should wrap up
Absolutely.
the podcast for now. So thank you so much for reaching out. This was not a coinky dink. This was fucking awesome. And this is great, man. I'm looking forward to it. So thank you again for being on the podcast.
Thank you, Eric. I very much appreciate it. And we'll do this again, hopefully soon.
Thanks for listening to the Viking Academy podcast. Make sure to leave us your honest feedback by leaving a review on Apple or Spotify and hit subscribe so you never miss an episode.